Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rulla Alani, and today we are going to be talking about 10 things women do that immediately turn men off. I want to help you ladies become more refined, more elevated, and more self-aware. So there are certain things that us ladies tend to do that scares men away or just kind of pushes them further away from us. And these are things that I know I'm guilty of doing, especially in my younger years. And when I say younger years, I mean like just several years ago. But through self-reflection and self-awareness, I have realized that there are certain things that men just do not like, and it makes them desire us less, it makes them less attracted to us, and it just makes them overall less likely to pursue us. So in this video, I want to share 10 things that us women do that tends to push men away. So the first thing that men do not like when we do is when we're indecisive. So this can be as simple as not knowing what to order when you're at a restaurant. I know it is very annoying when you want to have a nice conversation with your date and you want them to be really immersed in what you're talking about, but then they're just looking at the menu. That is definitely not attractive, especially if it's like a first date or one of the first few times you're getting to know someone. You really want to be in the moment, in the present moment with them. Men tend to make decisions very quickly. So if you are there just struggling minute after minute after minute, they are thinking, wow, this chick can't even decide what to order. Like, what about big decisions? And a lot of times when men like you and when men trust you, they will actually look to you for an opinion. So if you are someone who's indecisive, then they're like, okay, well, she's not gonna make my life any easier because she can't even come to a conclusion herself. Now, while we're talking about indecision, I do not believe that a woman should be the one planning the date. So if it comes to a man who's just asking, well, what do you want to do tonight? That honestly is a red flag to me. I think a man should have a plan. So I don't mean that a woman is indecisive in terms of where to go, because I do believe that a man should be the one to plan these things. But indecision can take the form of not deciding what to wear, which a lot of us women struggle with, and a lot of us will end up being late because of that. So just make sure to have a preference. Anytime you have a preference, it sets you apart because it means that you can actually make decisions, and a lot of happiness and success in life comes from making the right decisions. So if you're having trouble making decisions, just work on getting to know yourself better, because obviously if you know yourself better, you're going to know what you like and it's going to be easier to make decisions. Number 2, a woman who gives in easily. Men do not like a pushover. This is kind of contradictory because a lot of times people think that, you know, just going with the flow and being easygoing is the way to attract a man. No, no, no. You need to have standards. You need to have boundaries. You need to have expectations, and that's what makes you a high quality woman, right? You're not just any lady who just puts up with any BS behavior, right? So if you give in easily, that is a bad sign, because you want to be someone who can stand tall, who knows what she wants, who isn't afraid to voice those opinions. And let me tell you, men will fall at their knees for a woman who knows what she wants, who isn't afraid to voice those opinions, and who isn't just going to allow any behavior. So I think we kind of have this idea in our head that you meet someone and they should just know you and know your expectations and know your boundaries, but that is just not how life works. You are actually going to need to stop someone and tell them, you know, I don't appreciate it when you do X, Y, and Z. And being able to voice those opinions and voice those concerns sets you apart, because it makes you more elevated and more high quality. And a man who is really searching for his queen, for the lady that he's going to spend the rest of his life with, he wants a woman who doesn't just give in to other people's demands, other people's requests, behavior that is anything less than appropriate. So just make sure that you're not someone who is just a pushover or just a yes woman. You say yes to any request, you say yes to any person who wants to hang out or who wants to have a conversation. Be choosy, and this is definitely going to make you more attractive. Number 3 is along the same lines, and it's a woman who doesn't stand up for herself. So these are kind of two sides of the same coin. I mean, a woman who gives in easily is someone who may have a boundary or a standard, but she doesn't really uphold them, right? She lets people walk all over her. Now, in the second instance, when we're talking about someone who doesn't stand up for themselves, we are talking about those situations where it is uncomfortable to say something. You standing up for yourself actually sets the precedent for how others treat you. So giving in easily is someone who kind of might have a boundary or standard, but lets these slide under some circumstances. Now, a woman who doesn't stand up for herself means that if those boundaries and standards have been crossed, she doesn't say anything. She's shy about it. She doesn't want to come across as being mean or rude. No, the right woman, the attractive woman, is going to stand up for herself, whether that means with this person, with her partner, whether that means to her family, to her friends, to her boss. It is a turnoff when, a guy meets a woman and she says, I don't go home with men on the first date. And then next thing you know, she gives in and he asks, would you like to come over? She gives in, she goes over. That's someone who gives in. Now, let's say he puts her in an uncomfortable situation and she still doesn't say anything and she's just passive and goes along with it. Well, now that is a sign of not standing up for yourself. And this is why I always tell you women, and I always preach to you guys, that you must know what your hard no's are, right? These are your standards, these are your boundaries. I have filmed videos on this, which I will link above over here. It makes it so much easier because then when you go on a date, you already know I don't do these 3 things, right? Whether it's kiss on the first date or talk about my ex-boyfriends or, go into my life story, right? You have those boundaries not only for others but for yourself, and it sets you apart because you're not just someone who can be thrown around into any situation. You are someone who knows that these things do not align with what you want. These things do not align with attracting a high-value gentleman. So you're going to refrain from doing those things. There are a lot of women out there who set some boundaries and standards, but then they don't uphold them. And the whole point of having a boundary or a standard is to actually apply them and to actually stick by them. So just remember, ladies, that instead of just setting a standard, make sure that you actually live by it. This will make you more attractive because you're someone who doesn't just give in, you're not a pushover, and in times when maybe unfortunately you're put in a situation, you are willing to stand up for yourself and to speak up for yourself. Number 4 is a woman who does not prioritize herself. And what I mean by that is there is something sexy about a woman who is independent. Now, when I say independent, I mean a woman who has a life, who has a schedule, who has hobbies. I talk about this so much on my channel, but when you meet someone, you don't want to just lose your identity. And I mean, even if you're married to someone, you shouldn't lose your identity. It's obvious that as we spend time with someone, we become more like them, right? And we end up kind of bringing our lives together and molding into a union. But that doesn't mean that you should just let yourself go, because that is highly unattractive. That is a turnoff. A lot of times men end up cheating or partaking in affairs because their woman kind of gave up on herself. She stopped prioritizing herself. And what that means is she let go of her identity. So pretend she loved going to yoga class, but now all of a sudden, she's busy at home, she's busy with this, she's busy with that, and she doesn't prioritize her needs anymore. Well, obviously that's going to take some of her livelihood away because yoga was something she loved, and now she's not doing those activities anymore. So now she's taking out that stress in other unhealthy ways. So as a woman, you want to keep true to yourself, and that means like staying true to whoever it is that you are when you were single. So I know me personally, like I love to read. It doesn't matter if I'm dating someone who likes to read or not, but that is something that is a non-negotiable. Like I should prioritize time for myself to read. And I know in the past, if I dated someone who did not like to read, I would be like, well, you know, this isn't really like an activity we can both partake in. I'll just like push that to the side. But now I can see that that was wrong, right? Because I was neglecting a part of myself. I was neglecting a part of my livelihood. Just be sure that you never stop prioritizing yourself. It doesn't matter if you get married. It doesn't matter if you have kids. Always put yourself first. And that means, you know, going to the gym, taking a walk, hanging out with your friends, making time for family, doing things that fill your cup, because until your cup is full, you really, really can't show up for others in the way that they deserve. Number 5 is nagging. Nobody likes a woman who nags, and unfortunately, both men and women, we communicate in very different ways. I talk about this in my other video that is titled What Men and Women Want from Love or something along those lines. I'll link it up here. But unfortunately, there is a lot of miscommunication between men and women because women tend to express themselves emotionally, right? When we are in one of our moods, we can get really fired up and we can start talking from a place that is very emotional. And what tends to happen when we're operating in this way is that men retreat and actually become passive and quiet, and they don't really react at all. And that makes us even more emotionally wired, right? Men are more logical, so they are generally people of very few words. As you guys can see, there's rarely a man who outtalks a woman. And it's because men are more actions driven. They don't really express their emotions in the same way that us women do. So as a woman, you need to realize if you want to get your point across, nagging is unfortunately not the way to do it. Nagging is only going to drift you further apart from a man because they are going to be very annoyed and very put off by your nagging. So instead, show the man with changed actions. What I mean by that is, let's say a man texts you late at night wanting to hang out and you are like, oh my God, I can't believe he would text me in this way. And you want to respond a whole paragraph telling him, oh my God, I don't hang out late at night. You know, you need to plan a date with me, blah, 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 right? You want to just basically like word vomit all over him. Just don't respond, because that is going to send a much bigger message than whatever you have planned. So men actually pick up on action rather than words. So if you have a changed behavior, like you don't respond to him if he texts you late at night, you don't partake if he talks in a sexually vulgar way and you are not ready for that. So all of these things are going to teach a man what you really want versus you just spilling your guts out at him and scaring him away. So I know this is kind of reverse thinking because we tend to think that if we want to communicate with someone, we should just spill it all out. And while that is true to some extent, I would definitely recommend you to stay away from that, especially if you just started talking to someone, especially if you are in the first phases of a man, you know, trying to woo you and of a man being attracted to you. This isn't the time to send huge long texts or have long nagging bits with this man, okay? It's highly unattractive, and what works much better is a changed action or maybe a behavior that you withdraw. He is going to notice that and pick up on that much more than he would if you were to nag him. Number 6, this one we really need to talk about, ladies, because I have realized how prevalent it is. And this is when you react negatively to a man making plans without you. Okay, there are even memes about this where you could spend a whole week with the girl, but if on day 7 you're like, oh, I'm gonna go out with the buddies, she will throw a fit. She'll cry, she'll just be in a different mood, she'll have a different vibe. And this is so true, unfortunately. Like, I remember at one point in my life, I mean, I don't even recognize that girl anymore because I really was a girl then, but that used to be me. Like, it really used to drive me insane as to, like, why would you not want to hang out with me? Like, I literally thought the whole entire world revolved around me. And that is so wrong. That is the one thing you don't want to do as a woman, is to push a man away from his friends, his family, his hobbies. You want to be a woman that is supportive of him doing fun things, whether that involves you or not. I know it is so difficult, especially when you first start talking to someone and you're so enamored by them and you want to spend every single day and minute with them, but please steer far away from this, because this makes you look so attached and so overly dependent on him, and you never want to appear that way to a man, right? You want him to feel as if he is overly attached to you. Anytime a man tells you that, hey, I have plans with my buddies, I'm going to a birthday party, be excited for him. Like, be genuinely happy for him, and take that time for yourself. Take that time to reconnect with your friends, to make plans with your family, to indulge in one of your hobbies. Don't see this as a negative, because as human beings, we need to maintain our identity, like I said earlier in this video. And a part of that is hanging out with our friends, right? Our partner doesn't need to be at every single get together. And so make sure that when a man brings up having plans or is going to go out with his buddies or at a work event or anything of this nature, that you are supportive, you are happy for him, and that you leave him in good spirits. None of this like negative reaction or overreaction or acting like all weird and passive and sad about it. There's gonna be enough time for you guys to hang out, and it doesn't need to be an every single day thing, okay? So just remember, the world doesn't revolve around you. He has his own life, and it is not a bad thing for him to be hanging out with other people. Number 7 is being overly dependent. So this kind of describes the woman who would like be super ticked off if he went to hang out with someone else, but it also can mean being overly dependent on the man emotionally. So in our generation, we think that our partner needs to be our best friend, our confidant, our mentor, our coach, and that is just extremely toxic. You need to realize that different people in your life serve different purposes, and although your partner is going to be such a huge part of your life and such a huge, figure and person in your everyday existence, that doesn't mean you should depend on them for everything. If you need a therapist, you need a therapist. Don't take it out on your partner. If you need a business coach, then hire someone. Don't rely on your partner to answer every single, work related question that you have. If you need a workout buddy, hire a personal trainer. Your partner does not need to fill in all of these voids. And I've noticed that, especially in the Western culture, because we don't live like in a tribe. We don't live with our families all in the same household. Whereas in other third world countries, people tend to live with their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles, so they have a huge support system. But unfortunately, in Western society, we are very separated from our families and our friends. So we tend to put all of this pressure on the person that we're dating, and unfortunately that is just setting ourselves up for failure, because expecting so much out of someone is just, first off, not okay, it's unfair, and it just puts so much pressure on the person to fill your cup in all different sorts of ways, right? As a person you're dating, they should be looked at as someone who brings joy to your life, someone who adds to your life and makes things more exciting and just adds value, right? But if instead they're always asked to offer advice or to help you out in certain situations, then all of a sudden it's not a fun, exciting dynamic anymore. It becomes draining. So just be very, very weary of, relying on your person, your partner, a man for everything, right? It's okay to rely on them here and there for certain things, and it's healthy to do so, because if you trust someone, you should look to them for guidance and for help and assistance. But do not make it an excessive thing, because they will look at you as someone who's needy and they will want to run out the front door. 8 is a woman with no sense of humor. It really just does boil down to the fact that men love it when a woman laughs at their jokes. Sometimes they're not funny, sometimes they use like movie references that you've never watched, sometimes it's a bad dad joke, but just try to go along with it, because being lighthearted and just having a smile on your face just makes life easier. I don't really think we need to spend too much time on this. I think overall, as human beings, you want to be around people who are positive. You don't want to be around someone who's complaining, who is a Debbie Downer, who's like a negative Nancy, who is just always looking at the glass being half full. So just be someone who is positive and upbeat and partake in laughter. Like, I swear, laughter makes life so much more enjoyable. It makes everyone feel more youthful, feel younger, feel more vibrant. Number 9 is gossip. Obviously, men do not want to hear about the gossip. They don't want to hear about what that lady at work did. They don't want to hear about what your mom said, about what your best friend did. Try to leave that gossip and drama for your girlfriends, because that's where it belongs. And really don't force your man to partake in gossip, because that's also unfair when you're talking negatively about something or someone and then your partner is just awkwardly sitting there like, I don't really have a view on this, but now you're forcing me to partake in this sort of gossip. So just leave the gossip out. I think that gossip just really doesn't serve anyone, even if you're talking to another girlfriend about gossip. It really is just stupid. I think that we should talk about ideas, and we should talk about things that are empowering and uplifting, especially when you're talking with a man, with someone you're attracted to, with someone you're interested in. Like, this needs to be a time where you are a brand, you're selling yourself in a way, and so you want to talk about things that are interesting, that bring a different perspective to his life. Partaking in gossip is not one of those things, so I don't know why a lot of women do this. Just remember that gossip doesn't really serve anyone, and it definitely doesn't serve purposes to make someone more attracted to you or to make you more appealing. Definitely does not. And this brings me to my last point, number 10, which is an instant turnoff for men, and that is jealousy. Do not be that woman who is jealous, especially when it comes to other women. That makes you seem insecure. It makes it seem like you have little value or little self-worth. Just realize that we are all so unique and different. That thing that makes someone else so amazing, you have something that makes you so unique and so beautiful. So just try to look inward rather than outward. Stop comparing yourself to people's Instagram highlight reels or certain pictures that you see. And just remember that the more confident that you are in yourself, that makes you so much more attractive. Like, when you walk into a room and you're standing up straight, you just know what you have to offer. You know what you bring to the world. That aura, like that demeanor, makes you so much more attractive. When you're talking bad about other people, it really shows that in a way you're jealous of them, because why else would you be spending your precious sacred time talking about someone else, right? So being jealous kind of does tie into gossiping, and this is why it's super important to remember that as women, you don't ever want to first off, feel jealous of someone. Second off, to bring to light that jealousy to a man. That's going to show that you are not confident in who you are. And it also gives off a signal to a man that there's better out there. If you're so worried about other women, and if you cannot just stop talking about other women, your partner is going to be sitting there like, I might have not made the right decision choosing this woman here if she has nothing nice to not only say about herself, but to say about others. It is beautiful when you are kind and when you are inspired by other people. I have a video titled something like Turn Envy into Inspiration or something along those lines. I know I've talked about it before because I know when I was a kid, I was definitely susceptible to feeling jealous. And now I really just use jealousy as motivation in a positive way, right? You can turn these emotions into fuel. You can turn them to motivate you, to inspire you, to work harder, to achieve whatever it is that you want out of life, because we all deserve to live a beautiful, amazing life. And so stop worrying so much about other people's lives and start cultivating your own garden. I love that quote that's like, the grass isn't greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it. And I think that is so true. So that wraps up my video today of 10 things that women do that turn men off immediately. I hope that you found this helpful. Make sure to subscribe to my channel before you head off. And if you feel called to, then definitely comment down below if there is something else that you believe that men are turned off by. Or maybe if you're a man watching, then comment below some of the things that you can't stand. I will see you all very soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye!